Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, HitCon organizer crew, for hosting me here. It's a pleasure, it's an honor, and it's a privilege to be amongst such fine folks as you. My name is Saumil Shah. I will be giving you a 50-minute fast-forwarded overview of my observations in the IT industry, IT security industry over the past 25 years. So this is going to be a high-speed talk. If we have time left over, which I'm highly optimistic about, we'll talk some more. But let's go. This is the first photograph that I could find of my first ever presentation. This was at Blackhat Asia in Singapore in 2001, where web hacking was a very, very new thing. And we were up on stage talking about what this whole new stuff about web hacking was. But ever since then, 25 years have rolled by, and I've done a lot of things. Mainly, I've been entertaining, educating, and exasperating all my audiences since 1999. Anand Srivastav, he's put together like this hacking archive of India. When I was preparing for this talk, I was trying to think, let's see what I've done in the past 25 years. And it turns out it's quite a lot. I've kind of covered a large spectrum of things, and I'm sure there's some more stuff to be added at the bottom. But in all, this talk was born out of, the inspiration of this talk was born out of two keynotes. Both of these keynotes happened at Blackhat Asia in 2017. Day one was my dear friend Halvar Flake opening up Blackhat Asia with his talk on why we are not building a defendable internet. And day two was my keynote, basically the 7 axioms of security, what my observations were. Both these keynotes gave me a lot of food of thought. Essentially, for the first time, I was seeing that technical solutions alone are not going to cut it. We're going to talk about this more, this theme, recurring theme, throughout the talk. So this is a talk about 25 years of evolution, of attacks, of defense, and something very technical called PacSec. Problem exists between keyboard and chair, which is quite common. We can't begin to discuss about evolution without mentioning the two forefathers of evolution. And at the same time, we can't begin discussing technology in isolation of human evolution either. So if we want to talk about technology evolution, the father is Gordon Moore, who prophesied Moore's law, and that's kind of dictated how technology has evolved over the years. And then human evolution, of course, has been basically given to us, the insights have been given to us by Charles Darwin. There's also an award named after Charles Darwin. If you're familiar with the Darwin Awards, it's pretty hilarious. All right, let's first talk about technical evolution, then we're going to talk about human evolution, because IT security affects both of us. Moore's law roughly states that the number of components per circuit, per chip, will double every couple of years, and the costs will come down to half. And Moore's law has kind of stood through the tests of time until recently, when now different architectures are taking shape. But essentially, we've seen a rapid, I would say, an unusually rapid growth of technology. Let me give you an example. My first hands-on supercomputing experience was at Virginia Tech. This gentleman over here is my friend, Dr. Srinidhi Vardarajan, who he and I went to school together in my hometown. I ended up doing this, but this man went up to building the 3rd fastest supercomputer in the world. This was when he was a professor at VTech. Now, he did it in a very unique way. Although this was not the #1 supercomputer in the world, this system clocked 10 teraflops, 10 trillion floating point operations per second. The unique stuff about System 10, what Srinidhi built, was he built it out of average day-to-day desktop computers, the first 1100 G5s that Apple actually manufactured. He went around looking at Dell and IBM, and they said, no, you're too stupid, fuck off. And then he went to Apple, and Steve Jobs said, yep, I'll sell you 1100 computers. And so he built them together. And this 10 teraflops was achieved at a cost of less than $10 million. This was a revolutionary milestone at the time because the other two computers, the Earth Simulator and Los Alamos, were both in the orders of $100 million. Now, to build a supercomputer in 2003, you know what supercomputers are used for, like missiles and weather and all sorts of nuclear stuff and CERN and whatnot. This power can now be yours at your desktop. In fact, this is like 5,000 times, no, not 5,000, I think few thousand times more powerful now, and you get it for a cost of $2,000. This is the kind of evolution that has taken place. Now extrapolate this. What are you going to do with supercomputing power from not too long ago sitting on your desktop? What kind of things that this power is going to give birth to? I mean, every third person in this room can play with a Jetson if you like. Maybe you already are doing that. 2007 saw another revolutionary milestone. This is when I first realized that the microprocessor is the new transistor. We've gone on an order of magnitude leap over here. What does this mean for the growth of technology? Like basically, if you're a hobbyist in electronics like my dad was, he would build these circuits out of transistors like flip-flops and oscillators and all that and 555 timers. I've grown up as a kid seeing him put together circuits in a lab. But I had a discussion with my dad, and we found out both together that to build like a siren which warbles with an oscillator costs more than buying an Arduino. You just buy an Arduino, program it, boom, you're good to go. So the Arduino now costs less than about 20 transistors put together. This is a major breakthrough. I mean, you can now afford to put a 32-bit microprocessor in every light bulb in the country. It costs about 2 cents a piece. That's the kind of power we're looking at. What are we going to do with all this power? Well, like I mentioned, evolution is basically dependent upon several environment factors. Things evolve, things get born, things get birthed when several evolutionary factors come together. 2007, what were these evolutionary factors? You had 3G, you had GPS, you had like small-scale microcontrollers, the ARM processor, and you had good enough power in lithium-ion batteries. Now, all these evolutionary factors had to be present, and what was born out of this? Anybody can guess? The iPhone. This thing changed everything. This thing was like a pivot in the road of technology, major breakthrough. We know what mobile computing has done. Basically, it's here in everybody's pocket. But the point I'm trying to make is the iPhone would not have been possible if these other environmental factors were not in place. You can see everybody's tried doing this. The Palm Pilot tried to do it, and BlackBerry tried to do it. The movie BlackBerry is brilliant, by the way. But they could not succeed until everything that was needed for a high-performance mobile device was in place. And Apple can't invent all of these together. Now, when a new technology is birthed, it impacts everything around it. Not only does it impact technology, but it impacts life itself. So what has the iPhone impacted? The iPhone basically created a virtual layer in society. We've been using virtual machines. Now, the iPhone has paved this way for virtual human beings. We started participating at large on social networks. This is the first time that human-generated data started outpacing any other forms of data generation, and it has not stopped ever since. Like, the amount of data generated from this point onwards has taken a steep, sharp curve up ahead. These same evolutionary factors birthed another creature. We all know about this creature. Sometimes, the same factors can birth more than one different types of species. The other creature that was birthed was an autonomous drone. This was only possible because now you have a CPU fast enough to process flight corrections in real time. You have a battery light enough to fly and for a longer time. You have GPS to position it, and you have the broadband mobile network to communicate with it. Let's talk about the evolution of the internet. I'm going to skip through the early years, but at 2007, we were at a junction where big data was just born as an evolutionary creature. There's like lots of cloud computing, there's social networks, there's lots of data being generated. New ways of aggregating and accessing the data were necessary. And this caused big data and clusters and all these Hadoop systems and whatnot to come through. Now, what's the data that it hosted? So if we look at the internet size today, all the data on the internet accounts for about 180 zettabytes of data. Too many zeros in there. 2 years ago when I did this presentation, it was 44 zettabytes. And it keeps on steadily increasing. Now, 90% of this data has been generated in just the past 2 years. This is the rate at which we are putting data onto the internet. I mean, today, videos account for about half the data on the internet entirely. What tomorrow does, I don't know. But basically, bulk of this data is human-generated data. This is our content. Now, this is going to change. For those of you who were here in Vitaly's talk yesterday, you can see where the change is going to come from. But more on that later. So we've seen kind of a 3,300 times growth since the year 2000. This is the explosive rate at which data is being added to the internet. Now, what is this going to give birth to? So all this data, all this internet apparatus logically has birthed AI, or we should now use the word computational intelligence. I loved that word from Vitaly's talk yesterday. But yeah, essentially, we now have tools to get closer to human-like assistance as the next step, basically. Okay, we put a pause over here. We're going to talk about more evolutionary factors with exploits. Let's talk about the evolution of attacks in the past 20 years, 25 years now. This was a photograph taken at Blackhat Asia 2002 in Singapore. Bunch of us came together and we were discussing. I mean, basically at that time, we wrote exploits for the lols so that we can get invited to the next conference such as HitCon and present a paper and go meet our friends everywhere in the world, the traveling hacker circus as we called it. But yeah, we could write an exploit in about, a week or two, and this exploit would give us 6 months of glory. And then there were lots of exploits in the public domain. Like, we didn't care about anything but, popping shells, mostly for fun, not really for profit. But then fast forwarded just 10 years, 2012, which was still 12 years ago. Come 2012, exploit development had taken a dramatic turn. We got together for the same photograph in Singapore at SciScan, by the way. Exploit shelf life had decreased to less than a week. It took about 2 to 12 months to properly build an exploit. You needed more than one bugs to create a chain. There were no public domain exploits that really were of any importance. The commercialization, weaponization, and politicization of exploits had already begun. And we can see where it has led to now, actually. So in a very fast-forwarded way, targets shifted from servers to applications to desktops to browsers to mobiles, and now the targets are the human minds. Basically, whatever avenue is available and practical, not only that, whatever avenue leads the maximum yield, what is more profitable, what is more advantageous, and those are the targets. I mean, today, nobody talks about attacking a server. I can even guarantee you, if you pull your firewall off, nothing's going to happen to your servers. Put a Windows 98 system out on the internet unfiltered, I guarantee you it's not going to get compromised. It's going to get crashed, but you won't get a compromise. There's practically no public exploits available for that. Anyway, crazy thoughts here. But if we follow the money, where's the money angle? Where's the motivation? Where's the advantage come from? I mean, it used to be like defacement and DDoS, because that's where you can say, hey, pay me so much money, otherwise I'm going to open the floodgates and shut off your internet pipes and you can't do business. Then it went to ID theft and phishing, financial fraud, targeted APT, spear phishing. And then came a big revolutionary factor, which was basically ransomware and then now nation-state attacks. What led to the birth of ransomware? Basically, yeah, what do you get if you cross Windows with Bitcoin? You get WannaCry. And the reason why ransomware waited until so long was that there was no anonymous way to monetize this. But with cryptocurrency, yes, now there exists a non-standardized, non-federated banking method to gain money, and this led to the explosion of ransomware. Otherwise, worms are always there, but what money can you make out of worms? Not really much. Now, as the exploit started rising, two timelines. There were two approaches that the world took in trying to control this so-called menace of exploits. Basically, it was, on one side, a new species was born. This was called the mitigator, as Halvar Flake likes to call it. Basically, all your exploit mitigation started exploding. Try to fix the bug somehow independent of the programmer. Now, we can all see where exploit mitigation's gone. It becomes overly complex, it doesn't scale, and yet it has not really limited the number of new bugs that are still coming out and still getting exploited. I'm not trying to diss the fact that exploit mitigation is useless. Definitely is, it's there. It makes life a little harder, but not hard enough to erase this problem. The second approach was the threat and litigation approach. This was when Microsoft got all the vendors together in a room at Blackhat in 2002. I was in that room, and basically threatened us that if you release exploits, we're going to shit can your contracts and you'll never work with us again. So shut up and play by our rules. Basically, don't disclose anything. This caused a very, very different impact. And for the next few years, companies got the cue from Microsoft and started harassing researchers. The 2005 Blackhat incident at Cisco Gate, where Michael Lin was to present on a Cisco router flaw, and then lawyers came in and basically told Lin to shut up, and they deleted all the printed material. Jeff Moss was sitting with box cutters, ripping out pages from the printed binders. I was there that night. Well, Lin got up and presented anyway, and they said a big fuck you to the world and did it. But fast forward that, come 2009, Dino Raidzovi and Alex Soterov got on the stage at CanSecWest and said, no more free bugs. We're not going to contribute any exploit research. We're going to do it for ourselves. So this is the end of the road. You're not playing nicely with us. We're not playing nicely with you. All right, so the industry tried to basically buy the bugs back, saying, okay, yeah, we do need these researchers to, help us improve the posture. Lots of things changed. Microsoft themselves pivoted their attitude, and they took a really proactive stance towards the cybersecurity world. Like Andrew Cushman, Sarah Blankenship, and a few others reached out to the community, started embracing the researchers, started bringing them to parties, and worked together rather than worked against. But it was too late. The context was set. The stakes were being raised because now when you start buying bugs, you can see where the price escalation is going. Today, you know the prices, but Google basically came up. This was at Hack in the Box Kuala Lumpur. And when bugs were going for a few $1,000s, Google says we're going to put $1 million to the bounty, offer hundreds of thousands of dollars per bug. And that just upped the whole game, brought it to crazy consequences. While for the industry standpoint, this is okay. Yes, you must respect the research. You must, respect the researcher's efforts. This is a great way to appreciate the hard work that a researcher does. But this also gives birth to an entirely different industry, something very shady and murky, the whole exploit bug bazaar. Now, not all agencies who buy the bugs are buying it for fixing shit. They're going to buy it to use it against people they don't really like. And we've seen where this has gone. So indirectly thanks to bug bounties where the intention was good, but with everything that you do, you have a good intention and then also something negative comes out of it. The negative fallout was the legitimization and the growth of the exploits bug bazaar. And this is continuing as a trend. There are several agencies who are still doing this, and this is not going to stop anytime soon. Now, Haroon made a statement. This was a poll that he did at a think tank in NATO. And he asked a few of us, for a few $100,000, could you put a team that can break in just about anywhere? And yes, everybody who responded, 4 of us said yes, like for about $100,000 to $500,000, you can basically assemble a crack team that can tackle any new threat landscape, any new technology landscape, and just be able to own things. We've seen that works. Now this has happened. Now this is basically all these threat actors are a result of this type of a thinking. Now let's take a step back and think, why do we have these problems? And this I found by reading a blog on architecture and urban architecture, where the author of this blog mentioned something called Nakatomi space. Now, this story stuck with me. Basically, Nakatomi space is borrowed from Bruce Willis's Die Hard, where he goes up and down the Nakatomi Tower in Los Angeles. He uses every means to traverse a tower other than the intended means. So he will not use an elevator, he will not use the stairs. He'll climb out of the window, go up an air conditioning shaft, everywhere but intended modes of traversal. Now, this told me that any complex infrastructure that you have will always have Nakatomi space. There will be gaps where Bruce Willis can walk through your network. And this will not stop. This is just a function. You can't build a large infrastructure, you can't build a large building without having air conditioning ducts. I mean, here they are. There will be gaps like this. How many can you monitor? And at this junction, we had the whole compliance industry getting onto the act because, well, they got to make a cut too. So compliance was touted in the name of security, but the approach that compliance takes is that compliance wants to plug up all of this Nakatomi space. Their whole approach is like, no bad shit should happen. Well, you can see how, this is a self-defeating cause. This is a fallacy by itself. And this is a battle that's never going to work. There are still bugs that nobody really knows how to leverage. Even today, like Spectre, Meltdown, Rowhammer, few researchers and defenders really know the impact on both sides. Or even if the exploit is something different, there's always special ways of exploit delivery. This is a research that I did and published in 2015 called Stegosploit. My quote has always been that a good exploit is one that's delivered in style. Today, there is still no counter to Stegosploit, like encoding exploits as pixels in an image and then using it as a polyglot to unpack itself. It's still not been solved. I mean, it's not going to be solved because it's done by design. So what do we do? Well, we'll try and prevent all the bad stuff. This is what the defense industry has always been doing. Don't do this, don't do that, prevent this, prevent that, prevent, deny. All right? So over the years, we've tried to eliminate the bad and be secure again. We've built several technical approaches which basically say no to all new incoming threats. And then the other side has always gotten very creative, and for each type of technical defense, there has been a bypass, and this still keeps on going on. There's no end in sight. I mean, if you go to like a large trade show where like an RSA or a Blackhat, you see the vendor booth. They're all selling security, but if you unpack it all, what do each of these boxes or each of these apps or each of these pieces of software do? They basically give you rules, signatures, and updates. And now for VC funding, they give you AI. But essentially the same thing. Like, yeah, we will block what is known and keep you secure. There's no innovation to that. And sometimes products can actually create more problems than what you have on hand. We're going to talk about this in a little bit as well. To give you a visual explanation of what Nakatomi space is, it's basically this XKCD cartoon. One thing that holds up a lot of your digital infrastructure breaks, and basically the hits keep on coming. We've seen like every now and then a serious bug appears which basically disrupts the whole thing. You went from Heartbleed to Shell Shock to Log4j, Struts, Bluekey. One of these sort of black swan events will keep on happening, I guess, once every year. Something so simple, something so trivial, yet something so super widespread. What kind of big hits have we seen over the years? So in the next two slides, let's get ready for a top 40 hits countdown over the past 2 decades. So, well, it all started from Operation Aurora, the attack on Google. We had PlayStation. We had several data breaches, Adobe, Yahoo, Experian, T-Mobile, Equifax, Target, Uber. Notably, like, the government, the Office of Personnel Management in the US and Ashley Madison got breached. And somebody had posted, like, they did a correlation between who was an Ashley Madison and who was also a US government employee. And that created a lot of possibilities of compromat. Well, Snowden's the new Assange. Snowden also pulled the cover of several things that were going on. 2017 to 24, we've seen the rise of ransomware. We've seen products becoming vulnerable. I mean, you have your Fortinet, your FireEye, your Ivantis, your Palo Alto networks. All of them got a perfect score of CVSS 10. They were breached, and I mean, basically, a lot of defense infrastructure also got breached. The gatekeepers became the gateways to attacks. And this still continues. This is also the first time we saw a classic hack where it upheld my personal belief. The hack was human assisted. And my personal belief is that hackers don't hack computers. Hackers hack humans. The computers are just a means of getting to the humans. And we could see that with the MGM Grand hack. A Zoom call and a LinkedIn profile, the attackers got them to download some malicious stuff, and boom, they were all over the network. Data exfiltrated, MGM didn't pay, they got fucked, and we know the rest of the story. And lastly, Microsoft. Also, the more complex your infrastructure is, they slipped up. They had a big threat actor going through, they had a big nation-state threat actor going through. Midnight blizzard caused a lot of damage. Now, what happened at the end of all this? This is where we were kind of like last year, early this year. Rather than think about how to go fixing things, sometimes you also end up seeing, when any such incident happens, we end up seeing like there's always a war, the battle for the narrative. Any incident happens, you see so many experts just coming out of the woodwork, and they want to weigh in their opinions, cash in on the bad stuff, and then promote their good stuff. This is kind of a vicious cycle, and this is not what the cybersecurity alliance should be like. But sometimes what happens is you make a statement, and this is George Kurtz commenting about the midnight blizzard attack, saying, yeah, you should test on production before you do things. Well, guess what, my friend? The international blue screen of day was thanks to you. Where was your production level testing? So basically, sometimes you might be forced to eat the words you utter just to get your 15 minutes of glory. Don't do that, Oh, shit. No, this is just a joke. All right. So now what happens when attacks meet defense? What happens when these two forces combine? Well, each battle, basically burns a bug, but also burns a defense technology. Now, what does this mean, really? To understand this, I will refer you to a keynote talk that was made by Halvar Flake at Ring Zero Bootstrap in Austin in February. Halvar had he is always full of brilliant thoughts. But his whole premise was that we've always viewed attackers and defenders being in mutual conflict with one another. But the truth is, this is an incorrect view. They're not really in conflict. Basically, the attackers and the defenders both exert pressure on the users. The attackers will attack the users. The defenders will try and defend the users. But essentially, the users are always at the receiving end. The relationship between the attackers and defenders is kind of a loose-coupled, cat and mouse game. One tries to detect, the other tries to evade. But they're not in conflict. It's the poor user that has to suffer the brunt of this. What's happened as a result of this? The costs have gone up. The costs for exploits have gone up dramatically. The cost for defense has also gone up. I mean, there's definitely lots of money being pumped into creating the next cyber weapons, and it is not stopping at all. But we never tend to realize how much defense is costing us in the pocket. The price of a product is not just the price tag. I mean, I would highly encourage you to watch Charles van der Waal's talk at 44Con in 2018. Basically, it says like bad analogies made for bad results. Charles introduces the concept of technical debt. Like, how much are you really paying when you purchase a product? You have to maintain it, you have to have an admin for it, you have to subscribe it, you have to keep it hosted, you have to give it electricity. It all adds up, and it stays year after year. You're never going to be able to unplug that firewall, even if it is not really serving its purpose. I mean, today you have your mobile phone. It's not on a firewall, is it? It's roaming on the internet. It's freely accessible. Yet, we don't feel threatened about it. Anyways, that was kind of a radical thought here. But yes, basically, we've created this whole technical debt inverse pyramid, and it's kept on increasing. This has really crippled our ability to work on defense. Budgets are being sucked up mainly to fuel technical debt. And the problem is budgets are being taken away from investing in human capabilities. This is the dangerous outcome of technical debt. So yes, there will be vulnerabilities. We have to view every system like Schrodinger's hack, that it is basically hacked and secure at the same time. Only when you open the box, you'll realize what it is. I know I have like few minutes left, so I'm going to fast forward to the future. Let's talk about what's going to happen now. This is up to 2024. What happens 2024 and onwards? So let's talk about the shape of cyberspace. How has cyberspace evolved? I mean, where do we live in? A lot of folks, you live in Taiwan, I live in India, a few folks here from Japan, Singapore, the US, Germany, and various places of the world. But this is typically how our world map has looked like. This was the world in 2007. This was the world in 2010. But the world in 2020, basically, you are governed by these different republics that have established themselves on the internet. You're basically bound by their terms. They're keeping your data. They're doing the governance for you, and they're watching you. It is a brave new world. What does this mean for cyberspace? Basically, I have 3 laws for cyberspace. Before I get into those, first of all, know that cyberspace is somewhere where nature's laws don't apply, and neither do your governments. So what really works in cyberspace? I'm putting the environmental factors there for you to extrapolate where the evolution is going to take you to. So first, this is my first observation. In cyberspace, cells equals pixels. They're the same. You cannot distinguish a human cell from a digital pixel on the internet. Every picture looks rather authentic. What this means is that our facilities, our genetic facilities for detecting threats fail in cyberspace. We cannot visually see the threat, we cannot hear the threat, we cannot smell the threat. By the time we taste or touch the threat, it's come too close. The other thing is, what is common sense in reality is ignorance in the virtual space. There's a fantastic paper written by Dr. Sergey Bratas and his students on computerization, discretion, and freedom. And I want to read out this piece of text. Excuse me. Basically, computers modify our behavior related to discretion, professional autonomy, and ultimately moral choice. And this is rather true. So this is a statue in Amsterdam. Basically, it shows you where you're really living. You're focused in these little screens talking about the next few important things that are influencing you, but rather ignoring the large world and common sense that surrounds you. The other thing is, in cyberspace distorts reality. It's like a black hole on your mind. It bends your mind and makes you believe shit that doesn't really exist. Examples, there was a glorious time between the invention of the camera and invention of Photoshop when the world could only perceive real things. But now, miracles are back up again, and they're exploding thanks to the internet. How do you know? How do you know? How do you verify? Who do you turn to? And this is the evolution of experts on the internet. Today, it's a Karen on the internet who's the authority on what's real and what's not. And there's too many voices. The dilution of authenticity is real because the cost of publication has gone down to zero. Previously, if you were an authority, somebody would publish your thoughts and pay money for that publication to legitimize who you were. Now anybody can publish anything, whether it's real or whether it's fake, or whether it is computationally intelligently generated. You never know. Yes, there were geniuses like Mad Mike Hughes who truly believed the world was flat. There is a YouTube video. He put together a rocket, kind of like Wile E. Coyote, went up, didn't quite reach space, but there was something that he realized probably in the last couple of seconds of his flight, that the Earth wasn't flat, but then he was flattened out. The crash is spectacular. He definitely wins a Darwin Award. But this is the power of human stupidity amplified by technology. That's what it can do. This stuff is real. It's hilarious too. But the problem why the stupidity exists is because of the bullshit asymmetry. Right? The amount of energy necessary to refute bullshit is an order of magnitude bigger than one required to produce it. So yep, there is definitely bullshit out on the internet. It's going to be fueled in large numbers thanks to deep fakes and whatnot. So get ready. Basically, what you have in your mind is going to be priceless. Here's a little thought experiment. I mean, these are the people typically on your social network. I mean, I would do this. Like, who would you pick as the next tech CEO in terms of numbers? Which one of you these would be like the next tech billionaire CEO? Just yell it out if you can. Number 4 sounds probable. Who would be the journalist? Toss up between, say, number 6, number 8. Who would be like the environmentalist? Number 1, maybe. These are biases from your human mind. These are cognitive biases. We have been kind of, trained to apply roles even when you just see the picture. You've been doing it subconsciously right now. Now, who are these people? Well, they are GAN-generated images. This person does not exist. But if they were interacting with you digitally through AI-generated engagement, you'd think they're real. And you'd fall for whatever they say because your minds, we've evolved too when this is an attack on our own evolution. And this stuff is kind of very active here. So the last rule of cyberspace is carbon equals silicon. They both have a valency of 4. You can see where it's going from Vitali's talk yesterday. I won't drone on too much about it. So now in 2024, we have the evolutionary factors in place. We have the environment in place. We have high-speed mobile networks. We have telemetry. We have neural networks. We have new user interfaces. The Oculus is the Vision Pros. We have supercomputers in the cloud, in the edge, in the devices, in embedded systems. What is the creature that is going to be birthed next? I don't know. It's up to you folks to figure out as well. But keep thinking about this. This is going to shape the way the world is going to be in the next few years. Next evolution of the internet, maybe 2 favorite movies, Terminator and The Matrix. Well, it may seem like a joke, but we're not kind of far from Skynet. It's being used in Ukraine already. I mean, this is happening. The use of $500 drones to drop presents on people is a reality, just like Amazon. So let's conclude over here. I know I'm kind of quite run out of time. So basically, key takeaways. What I've seen over these past 25 years is you cannot view technology in isolation of humans. A wall is only as good as those who defend it. And this has been proven true several times in any aspect. Over the years, we've created a culture of resistance. We've deflected, like we've passed the parcel when it comes to security. This is somebody else's problem. I'm sure CrowdStrike is figuring out who to blame and how to make this whole thing go away. There's this whole this whole loop this whole trap of rules, signatures, and updates and patches. We're looking at short-lived and super short-lived processes. We've always worked towards encumbering our users. We've made life difficult for our users rather than helping them. And InfoSec has sadly spread this passive message of selling fear. This is not the way to do it. So rather than resist, I would urge each one of us, this is the human factor that comes in. First and foremost, let's be excellent to each other. Let's be also true to ourselves. Figure out what you want to do. You may make a small impact, you may make a big impact, but whatever impact you choose to make, my urge, my learning, my message to you is rather than resist, try to resonate. Try to take ownership of security. Try to do proactive defense, build defendable systems from the ground up. Try to implement trustworthiness as a security feature. Don't encumber, but empower your users. And lastly, basically turn the business of InfoSec from selling fear to enabling trust. So, I'll leave you with a few takeaway elements. There's always going to be Nakatomi space. Products are short-lived. The more things change, the more they've remained the same. We've seen this. Bugs basically are very transient, but don't overlook the technical debt that is accrued when you try and defend against bugs. And lastly, if you want to invest in something, invest in human capabilities. This is where I would say bulk of your budget should be going. People are far more important than products. Products will be around, but they'll be short-lived. People, no, it takes a lot to enable people. So with this, I basically conclude my talk. It's been a pretty fast-forwarded message. I hope I have, not overloaded you with too much information. There are 4 more, this is a little bit of Sunday reading, if you wish. 4 videos that I would highly recommend. This is what inspired a lot of this talk. Halvar Flake's keynote on why we're not building a defendable internet. My talk on the 7 axioms of security. Shal van der Walt about technical debt. And Halvar's more recent keynote about AI and security. Extremely insightful. And the links are present in the slides. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for your time, your attention, and your participation. We can open up to questions. We have 7 minutes and 7 seconds left. Right, happy to enable questions.
好，那我们谢谢 Saumil 带来精彩的演讲。那大家有问题吗？就是可以用英文问，也可以用中文问。
Yes.
Thank you very much for a very informative sharing. I received tons of information. I missed it earlier. Thank you very much. No. And there is a quick question regarding the AI. You talk about AI is going to be a quick challenge about cybersecurity. What do you think about as a cybersecurity researcher? How do you think about the impact of AI from the bad side or from the good side? It means with the invention, if the introduction of AI, how these things are impacting the bad side and good side? Can you give a little more elaboration? Thank you.
Sure, happy to do that. And that's kind of the burning question that's on most minds these days. The question is like, how do I see AI as impacting everything from both sides? I want to give you 2 pointers. So definitely refer to Vitalik Amluk's talk yesterday. I don't know, will the recordings be available at some point for HitCon?
We'll probably only publish the slides.
Okay, great. So if the slides are published, do look through his slides where he makes a lot of insights into what the post-AI scene is going to be, how it's going to impact society and culture at large. From a cybersecurity perspective, I'm already seeing trends where people are using AI to generate code rather than write the code themselves. This is going to come with its own set of problems. The biggest problem I see is deception. I mean, phishing was just one email, one message, one level of interaction. Like you either click on an SMS or you click on an email, one shot and you're done. But now you have the ability to engage somebody for a longer period of time. You can say hi, hello, you can do a chit chat, you can do like, bring them into a comfort zone and then hit them. You can even have like full fake videos, full fake video calls even. You can have like literally digital ghosts interacting with people to deceive. And this can be done at scale. This is the thing that personally terrifies me. I don't know who I'm interacting with in digital space. And also refer to Halvar's talk that I've published here on the slide. That will give you a lot more insight into where AI is going. Any further questions?
好，那大家还有问题吗？
Hello. I just trying to spit out some message from the Telegram group. People would like to see the slide that recommend the videos and extended reading. Would you mind to share the screen again?
Sorry, I did not.
Sorry, say again.
From the TG group, okay, people said that they have a slide that you share extended readings and recommended videos. They would like to have a screen cap on it.
We'll publish the slides on.
Yeah, please go ahead, publish
yeah.
everything. This is
Thank you very
for
much.
everyone to consume and enjoy.
我们的简报之后会这一场的简报会在网站上公告，这样子，就在网上可以下载。
And you can feel free to publish the video as well if you want. I have no problems. My stuff is for everybody to learn and share.
你好，我想要询问是我们要怎么样在实务上我们要怎么样跟我们保护的使用者之间建立这个信任关系，而不是用漏洞啊、用威胁去恐吓这些使用者。
So he's asking, how do we build the trust between like the users? So how as in like instead of like using exploits and stuffs, how do we build the trust?
This is a very, very good question. I will give you a short overview of it. Basically, if you want to verify who a user is, the most typical thing you do is ask them for a username and password, right? But have you used WhatsApp? How many of you use WhatsApp? Just quick raise of hands. Yeah. Do you use a password in WhatsApp? You don't. If you want to log in, you can use a QR code and scan it. This is a technical innovation which is possible skipping over the whole idea of password-based authentication. Okay? This is going to enable the user and make them feel a little safer because now the burden has shifted to compromising the phone, compromising the cellular network. That's the only way you can get into WhatsApp. It's not a be-all and end-all, but it's definitely a huge step up. Now, this is built in by design. If you can start building controls, building features that enable the user to view what's happening to them. If you go to Gmail and the bottom, you click it, it'll give you a list of IP addresses and regions where you logged in from. Now, once I am in control and in view of this information, I can take better decisions myself. I can empower myself to take better informed security decisions. And I have also the control to log everything out if I think something is a problem. Now, these type of proactive features where you don't treat the user as a stupid person, you rather treat the user as an intelligent but uninformed person. The job is to inform the user and enable them to take the right decision. Now, I'm not saying there will be no stupid people. There will be. You watch the movie Idiocracy, they're multiplying in large numbers. But you're definitely going to take care of people who are on the other side of stupid, who really want to do a good job for themselves, but don't have the means to do it. So this is a short answer. There's more answers in these videos too.
好，我想确认一下，就是刚才问的问题的汇总那个
We got a last question up, right? We got only 1 minute, so one last question.
你刚才是想问使用者认证的方面，还是说就是甲方信任的方面？
使用者信任。
OK， 好，那我们在最后一个问题，我们只剩1分钟。请。
So I'm wondering, you mentioned that the current the current stage of compliance and defense is proactive and is reactive and is like incomplete and not working. I'm wondering in which direction would you recommend the current defense industry to go to?
Another great question. Currently the defense is reactive. Okay, how do we make the industry go into the more proactive mode? I'll be very happy to chat with you on the side, but basically any technical innovation that can enable the user to take better decisions, make the user drive their own security. Don't treat all users as one size fits all. Yes, sometimes users make silly mistakes, but they're a very small fraction. Bulk of the users want to do the right thing. Figure out a way of empowering them for that. I can talk to you on offline. I think time's up. We got to vacate now. But thank you very much again for your time and attention.
好，那我们这一场就到这边。谢谢 Saumil。